Today we have Nate and Cindy of Ponytails in
Hello.
Wisconsin, and then also Jason.
Jason, yeah.
So Horse Plus and Ponytails kind of goes back a really long ways, and I don't think a lot of people really realize that unless they're hardcore fans.
Right.
But 2016 was the first time our organizations actually worked together. Um, and kind of what led up to that, because we were doing one day open door shelters across the United States. And I know we were reaching out, trying to find organizations to host it at. And did you reach out to us or did we reach out to you? I do not
I don't
remember.
remember you.
There was someone that followed us and had been out here a couple times to volunteer, and she was, and I'm sorry, but to be honest, I didn't know you guys existed at the time.
Right.
But
We
she
didn't know
did.
you
She followed
existed.
you. Right.
Yes.
She knew about your organization, about the shelters you were doing, and she asked us if we would be willing to host one if she could get you guys here, and then it just kind of went from there.
And we had no idea how it was going to turn out as far
Right.
as how many, if we were going to have 10 horses or 100 horses, and then we didn't know how many we could handle. And
Yeah.
it was,
I think someone had said at the time that the average was like around 20 at these things. So that's kind of what
which
we were figuring.
prepared for 20, and we ended up getting
56.
Yeah.
Yes, 56 horses came into that first event. So the need was huge, and
Yes.
Right.
that was pretty exciting. Now, Jason and I weren't there during that event. It was actually one of our board members flew out to y'all, and he came back and he was like, "These people are the best people ever. You've got to meet them someday." And he just came back ranting and raving about how awesome y'all were and how the need was.
Oh, he was awesome.
He was awesome. Larry was.
Yes.
We had fun together. We had a good time, even though it was
a lot of work,
pretty stressful and overwhelming. But he helped us get through it, so
he was great.
It was good.
Yeah, no, for sure. So a lot of horses surrendered that first time, and then there were horses that came in that needed euthanasia, and then there were horses that came in that were adoptable. So that was kind of a first glimpse into what Horse Plus does for you all, and then working with us. But that wasn't the last one day open door shelter we did in Wisconsin. We came back and rented a fairgrounds and did another event.
Neilsville, I think.
Yep, the following year.
Yeah.
And that's where we all met you guys. And
yes,
I wasn't there.
Me and Brianna were.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I met your organization.
Right. Yep.
And then we started talking about mentoring and trying, because basically Jason and I, through doing the one day open door shelters, we could see the need was huge across the United States.
Literally everywhere we went, we were bombarded with horses. Like I think there was one where we got just a few horses because of the local laws, but anywhere we could just open it up, we got so many horses. It's like there's a huge need across the United States.
And
absolutely.
We're like, if we're gonna, like, we were exhausted after traveling across the United States, like every month hosting an event. Because that first one that we did with you all was kind of like a pilot type thing of like, does this work? And our board of directors was involved. And then the second year, it was like, okay, Jason and I are gonna be traveling to everywhere across the United States. And we were so exhausted that we were like, we can't physically be traveling across the United States hosting these events at fairgrounds and such. And we're like, we have to be able to mentor organizations to get them to do it, because everywhere we went there was organizations.
Right.
And so then the Full Circle Life horse shelter was born, and one of our followers had passed away, and she left money in her estate for Horse Plus. And she wanted, she didn't want animals to suffer. She left some money for humane euthanasia, even to veterinarian clinics, to set up funds so people would have a way to euthanize their suffering animal if they couldn't afford it. And so we're like, let's take, some of that grant money and try this.
Yeah.
And we were very apprehensive going into it, because we're like, we don't know if we're going to get any organization to try it. And
Well, it was a whole brand new program, and it's like we didn't know the results. It's like we can give it a try, see what happens, and maybe what we're doing doesn't work anywhere else. So it was almost more an experiment on our end too to see, does this actually work anywhere else? Being
Right.
a position, being able to say yes to every horse.
So we had the $10,000 grant, which was part of the state money from our follower that passed away. We had a $10,000 grant that we were going to give to an organization that was willing to pilot it, and the money came from the lady's estate.
How many organizations were we looking at? Because it wasn't very many.
It
back
wasn't
then.
very
I
many
think
at the
there was
beginning.
2 or 3.
I think there was a little bit more than that.
I mean, as far as we seriously considered.
But we were seriously considering you all, and then also Colorado Horse Rescue Network, which we had both worked with you all during One Day Open Door Shelters. So we knew that you were very passionate about the philosophy of helping horses in a significant way.
Now this was 2019, so I mean this was years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we talking amongst everything, and then our board of directors that had traveled to your facility and stuff, they were like, it's gonna be ponytails. But we didn't let you all know that when we headed up to your all's place.
No,
We had absolutely no idea, and we thought,
we figured we'd get the $500
yeah, we were just
second place.
thought if we
then-
get something, it'd be nice, but
Yeah.
thought, no way are we gonna, win
Yeah.
the $10,000. We just didn't think it was gonna happen. But
no way.
Yeah. Well,
it
when
was a
we
huge
got,
surprise.
oh good. When we got up there, it was I think a little mind-blowing to me, because I knew like how amazing you all did during the One Day Open Door Shelter, but your horse area was like so wrapped up in Nate's shop. It was a little like wow. And like your feed barn was a car. You had all the feed stored in, and horses were being led through hydraulic lifts, and I was just like,
Yeah.
wow.
And there was nothing wrong with
It was
that.
unique.
You were doing
Yeah.
what the best you could with what you had. And I'm like,
Right.
man, Nate must be a saint to let all these horses come through his garage. What's your
Yeah.
thoughts about that?
Well, it's good desensitizing for the horses, but I would not appreciate horses being led through my garage, but it is kind of one of those things, you just do what you need to do. And it made really good TV.
But they
I
would
mean,
leave them presents sometimes in there, so that was
Yeah, they
nice.
like to leave a horse apple when they walk through a lot of times. So
yeah, looking back, I'm like, I can't believe we only filmed 1 or 2 horses going through there. It's like, how did we not let's get this on video. This is amazing. So, but we did.
And
And it was our first time filming one of these events, the whole competition and everything. And so we literally just had one film guy there with us, and it's like,
Mhm.
it worked, but it was challenging for all of us from our perspective.
Yeah, sure.
What type of challenges did you have with the horses being in your shop? I'm sure hay makes a mess everywhere, and hay was being hauled through, and you're trying to run a business and your wife's doing a rescue.
Yep. Yeah, we just dealt with it as best we could. But yeah, it was a distraction, and the guy that helps me in the shop, sometimes he'd have to help us with horses instead of us getting work done. So it really some days it didn't bother at all. But I mean, there's a lot of times it did definitely interrupt the production. So
He still helps sometimes though too.
oh yeah, he does. It's just a lot less than it used to be.
A lot less than it used to, yeah.
So for those of viewers and listeners, what do you do in your shop, your garage?
Auto repair, mechanical repair.
And you got a couple hydraulic lifts in there, it seems like I remember.
Yep.
And then
2 lifts.
one beside one of the hydraulic lifts, Cindy, you had all your
Tack and
tack and your feed, and like
that wasn't.
Oh yeah.
that wasn't in
Blankets.
yes.
We
And
had 2 old chest freezers in there that the grain was stored in.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was in the way too when we were trying to work, and it was right next to the hoist, and somebody come in to get some grain and we're working on a vehicle and they're tripping over each other. And
My mom's spreading the feed dishes out all over John's work area.
yeah, her mom liked to leave things in front of John's toolbox, but
Wow. I think it was such a unique situation having the two of you working out of a auto mechanic garage of a horse rescue. So it was very unique. How long did that go on? Like before we got there, what was, I mean, it wasn't just the day we got there.
Yeah, how many years were you guys
Well,
co-locating?
started in 2014, but there was, just a couple of horses and really not too big. I guess in 2015 is when we started getting a lot more horses around and starting to have more feed and tack and stuff, and it ended up being, what used to be all be able to be in the barn, there wasn't room for it anymore, so it ended up being in the shop. And things that had to stay warm had to be in the shop because the barn is not in the winter not warm.
When Larry went up to hold the 1-day open door shelter, that was 2016. So you'd kind of just had gotten started. And here comes Horse Plus, and 50 something horses are surrendered in 1 day. And you're like, ooh. One thing I remember seeing as Larry was sending me photos and letting me know what's happening, I was like, wow, they have so many people there. There's cars everywhere. And then when we went there to do the filming and let you all know that you'd won the grant, I realized that the cars were everywhere because it's part of Nate's shop of all the cars he's repairing and stuff. But the first time I saw photos, I was like, wow, they have so many volunteers. There's just cars everywhere. But
no, they're always here.
So then when we came up to do the filming, and you didn't know that you'd won, and we're just like, we're gonna come film your facility. It was really hard for us. Like, I'm terrible at keeping secrets. And as we were walking around, we're like, okay, so how are we going to present this check to them? And it was very, very challenging. But as we were there, just seeing the passion that you all had for the horses and your organization. And then Nate was supporting a huge amount of your organization to keep it going. And I think just
yeah, it impressed us, honestly.
Yeah. And so then we finally got to pull out that big check, and
seemed to make y'all happy.
There might have been tears involved.
Yes. So it was like
very, very surprising.
We tried to get you all in for a photo. And then Jason was back there with the check, and I'm trying to talk about blah blah blah. And finally the check was able to come out of the bag, and I was like, shoo, okay, yay. And then things started changing, I think, for your organization from basically that point on. It seemed like the turning point, and your organization is just so incredibly amazing now. Like, I sit back and I'm just like, wow, look what they're doing. It's amazing. But kind of like what happened, and for those of you who haven't watched the first season of Horse Rescue Heroes, there will be links in this description. So definitely go check it out. One funny thing that wasn't really talked about is I was like, okay, I'm gonna hide my gray hairs. And so I went to Walmart, and I should have never done this, but I told Jason, I'm like, help me pick out the color to dye my hair so that my gray hairs aren't seen. And the hair came out, like, I dyed my hair like just a few days before flying up there. And it was like so dark, it was like black.
I remember you having really dark hair.
Yes. I was like, oh no, because I did it all myself. And I was like, this is not me. But we were filming like right away. And then I was like, oh, well, okay, I'm going to have like really, really dark hair. And I was like, well, it's just for 6 months or so while we're filming. And then COVID hit. And then we still filmed after COVID. So I had to keep my hair like that color for so long.
Like a year and a half.
And after that, I'm like, I am going to go get my hair done. I am no longer going to have Jason pick my hair color. But anyways, that
Oddly enough, I don't get it, but
so that was just a side funny thing that I don't think anyone ever knew about. But my hair was very, very dark in that first season. And I was like, I am changing and this is terrible. Wasn't me. It was way too dark. But besides all of that, that was just a silly thing. So if you watch those first seasons, that's what happened with my hair on
that wasn't your natural hair
that
color?
was no.
Oh.
No, not that dark. So kind of what happened after we left, and we left you with this big check, and kind of what was going through your all's minds at that time. And it was a long time ago. I know this is pre-COVID, so it was like forever ago.
Right, whole different world.
We had to build the barn then because that's what we said we would do.
Yeah, when I submitted the application, first I talked to the board and they're like, well, what would you use the money for? And I was like, we really, really, really need a bigger barn, and a separate one. And, obviously $10,000 isn't going to build a barn, but it was like, okay, guys, we won. Like, we have to do this. Like, everybody, all hands on deck.
I tried to talk you into downsizing the size of the barn, so because she wanted a 60 by 72 barn, and I'm thinking this doesn't even buy the material. About bought the material, I think, but
it paid for the excavating.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's a bit
pretty much.
So I'm trying to talk her into making it smaller, and we can make it bigger later as we can afford. And
like, no, this is what we said we were going to put the money towards, so that's what we're doing with it. And
we were lucky to have good friends that helped us with the excavating. Yeah, it was $10,000, but I worked it out and trade with them, so we didn't spend money there.
Everybody needs tires.
And the local lumber yard helped us with we didn't have to pay for everything right away.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like for the poles for the pole building, there's a place in our town that builds those, and they had some ones that they had built that they didn't end up needing for something, and then we bought they sold us them for very cheap, so
for less.
And the builders also good friends of ours, and they helped us out with trading for work, so we were able to do it.
Yeah,
but
it's amazing what happens when a community comes together.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, it took a lot of people.
Amazing community up there. And so I think the barn was just such an exciting part of what your dream was. And it was going to separate you out of the garage, so you didn't have to work in the garage with Nate and be leading horses through, and Nate could actually have a clean garage without horse apples falling around randomly through it. So I know we talked over the phone and a lot during that time, and then COVID hit, and then finally we were able to come back and film what was going on with your organization. And I remember driving there across the valley. We kind of came around the corner and I could see the barn. It's so big, and I was like, wow, look at that, that's their barn. And it was just so neat. And we did another surrender event. We were there.
It was snowy.
Yes, cold and snowy. And that was just amazing. It showed the need again in the community was so high, and the barn was just amazing. Like, wow.
Even though it wasn't quite finished yet, it was just
right.
It's like the potential here, what you guys have here is so amazing. And how is it now? Is it done? Is it mostly done? What's
a horse barn is never done because of horses.
It's mostly done. There's one stall yet to construct, but right now it's kind of storage. We're kind of wanting a couple little storage outbuildings, and so it's just stuff we're working towards. But right now, I mean, we only have 2 stalls that we're not using with the weather here. So if it wasn't for this barn, these horses that are in right now because they need to be wouldn't be able to be, and so we wouldn't be here and able to help them. So I don't know how we live with them.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, it's pretty much done. They're just we'd like to insulate it someday.
Yep.
I guess,
Well,
but
It's about happens.
it's usable, very and handy.
Mhm.
Works very nice.
For people
And we're
that,
away from the shop.
that have never been to Wisconsin, in Wisconsin, it seems like the barns are big and the houses are small. So why is that? Like, why is there such a need for big barn space in Wisconsin?
Storage.
It
and-
gets
'cause
cold.
there's so
Yeah, it
much,
gets really cold up there, y'all.
you
Like-
can't leave
like
stuff
normal.
outside.
Normal for
Well,
y'all.
also
but
for
it is
the horses, the healthy horses can, it can be 20 below and you'll see them out laying in the snow because they're hot.
Mhm.
But ones that aren't, that need to be inside, it's nice to have a place they can be in, even if it isn't warm, they're out of the wind, and
Yeah.
and it's a lot nicer for them.
Yeah, and especially with rescuing horses from auction, you're always going to be getting emaciated ones, and it's hard to have them out there in the cold. When Horse Plus first started, we were in Northern California, and we weren't thinking very big at that time because we called our organization NorCal Equine Rescue for just equines, just Northern California. But we would get 4 feet of snow and water troughs would freeze solid, and we're like, we're gonna have to move out of the mountains because it's just rough rescuing horses up here in the snow, and it would
Yeah.
everything would freeze solid and stuff. So
Yeah,
totally
but-
get that. So having a big barn is important. But I remember when we went up there, like you have your own office. And I was like, wow, and like this walk-in tack room, and I was so excited for you, and it was just so amazing. And knowing how many horses you're going to be able to help because you had that amazing facility now. And then after we left, I basically have sat back in awe watching you over the years, just rescuing all these horses, going to auctions, being on the front lines of animal rescue. And then you started your own TV show, which is so exciting. And your intro is just amazing. I was watching your intro and I was just like, wow, like you'll knock it out of the park in every term of the way that word is. It's like, wow, ponytails is just amazing. And what you all do, it's just, we just sit back in awe and watch.
Yep. We're like, wow, cool.
Yeah. Our
So
intro
how-
is changing.
How are y'all doing as far as donations, number of horses helped, and like, is it going up? Is it staying the same? Are you kind of plateaued? Like, how is it kind of year to year for the last couple of years?
Last year was 210.
2019, like our average, I think prior to the grant and the mentoring was about 50 a year. 2018, we bumped up to 143. Then we went up to 181. And then it was 180. And I was like, uh-oh, but then last year we went 205, and this year or 2022 was 205, and 2023 was 224.
And so we could get 600 animals easily in a year at our facility. But you have your team, and it's challenging keeping a team going that can keep caring for all those animals. Like that's a lot to hit that 200 number.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, and it's without the volunteers that we have, it'd really be,
Yeah.
and we have some paid staff too, obviously, but the volunteers are amazing that come, every, they have their days to come Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or come on the weekends or whatever, but it makes it so much
Extra days if we're short staffed or I'm gone at the auction or something like that. So many people will jump in and be like, well, we got to take care of these horses, and
Christmas this year, it was the first time that you said you didn't have to do any chores because people volunteered. So
that morning or that night.
we could enjoy our Christmas all day, which is nice.
That's the first time in a while, huh? Yeah.
The whole day.
Not
I came down in the morning just to make sure like everything's good, and then one of the girls was like, do you want me to come do chores tonight? And I was like, sure.
No.
I'm not gonna have to change out of my Christmas clothes and back in my barn clothes, and so that was nice.
That was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really amazing just sitting back and watching your organization from afar and watching your organization grow, not only from an organization standpoint, but like your facility grew, and then you're able to grow your medical department and, have your own on-site x-ray machine. Like with our x-ray machine we have on site, it used to be prior to getting that x-ray machine, the vet would come out, we'd say, okay, the horse is lame. Let's try this and this. You try that and this, and then that didn't work. And then you try another thing. And it was like the x-ray was the last thing we would check.
Yeah.
By the time we were able to check it with the x-ray machine, it usually is like, oh man, this horse has severe arthritis, and the horse needed euthanasia. And I always felt bad because I'm like, here's this suffering horse, and we were trying these different things the vet thought would work, and we'd finally invest in getting an x-ray. And to have an x-ray come out here, it was very difficult. It was at a vet clinic about a good 45 minutes from here. And so we'd have to pay an extra fee to have the x-ray machine brought out here. And then it was, so much per x-ray. And it was just like jumping through all these hoops. And when we were able to get our own x-ray machine, and it was more one of the first things we did, it was like, wow, we were able to tell, like, horses can't tell us that they're suffering other than just trying to show us that they're suffering. And having the x-ray machine is such a valuable piece of equipment for an organization. And I know we talked about you were going to get an x-ray, and then when we were filming this last season with the organizations here, like, you were getting the x-ray right away, machine. So that was very exciting.
Yeah, shortly down there.
Yeah, it was very exciting for me because I was like, wow, now they're going to have an x-ray machine. So
It's been so handy to have.
So handy. Like you said, we don't have to guess at why they're hurting anymore.
Working with your veterinarians and getting that, prognosis right away, because a lot of veterinarians, if they have access to an x-ray machine, they can't bring it with them on a ranch call every time. And it's been such a valuable piece of equipment here. And so I was so excited that you all were going to get that. So what is your kind of plans going forward with your organization? And I know you do a lot of auction rescues. So maybe before you go into your plans, what are auction rescues like for you up north there?
Yeah. The one we're not going to one this month. We'll be going early February, and that one is probably going to have 700, 800, 900 horses at it. There's a lot of Amish around here, so there ends up a lot of drafts, a lot of standees that just get tossed away when they're not useful, can't do a full day's work anymore. So we deal with a lot of those, and then we have a lot of kill buyers and traders and a lot of these kill pen rescue places around here that are dumping off whatever horses they picked up at the last auction or that people took to their place. And then they're scooping up the other ones. It's kind of a never-ending cycle here with that. Just never-ending.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so hard. And I think, when a rescue goes into an auction where there's hundreds of horses, it feels like a drop in the bucket for the little trailer load you get to take away, but it's changing the world for those horses. And I imagine you must feel very frustrated a lot, not being able to, it's so frustrating sitting in an auction and watching horses go through the ring that you can't bid on. Like that is hard. And I know it happens a lot to every rescuer out there, but it's part of the Full Circle Life Horse Shelter Network philosophy is being able to help horses, regardless of their condition. Because I know in the early days of Horse Plus, there were horses that would come through the auction and I wouldn't bid on them because I'm like, well, I can't find them homes. And now, going to auctions or through our buyout program and rescuing them, even knowing it might be humane euthanasia, it's the kindest option for them so they don't go on to slaughter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what are your 5-year plans for Ponytails? Because it seems like you are just on a roll.
Well, some days you wake up and it's just surviving, but we do have a program where in the works on putting together right now. Someone's not happy. I don't know how much detail I want to go into it. It would be something that would start just primarily within the state, to see if it's even doable, you know, kind of like, you know, you guys, when you started the open door shelters, full circle life, you know, we can start a little small, and then if it's good, would like to expand with that. What it's kind of, the premise of it is to try to keep, we get a lot of surrenders and even a lot of the horses at the auctions. They've been at this home they're 30 years old. They've been at the same home their entire life for the last 28 years. And all of a sudden they're uprooted and sent somewhere else. Then even the ones that come here, I feel really bad for them.
Yeah, some probably shouldn't have made the trip on the trailer.
Yeah, so we're hoping to find a way to try to help those horses that really need or deserve humane euthanasia to be able to stay in their home and get that, so they don't have to come here and have that done.
We feel that might be the case that some people, one of two things, they don't know what to do with the animal after it's been put down, and we know what to do, obviously, or they can't be there with it, you know, just emotionally can't do it.
Yeah, to be there when it happens.
We'd be willing to go be there, you know, they can go away and we can be there with the vet when it's put down.
The need is so huge for that, and ultimately, if we don't figure out these programs, you know, that's what's gonna prevent horses from going to the slaughter pipeline. And we started, you know, doing some lobby work last year, and we're getting close to actually getting the border shut down, where horses aren't being exported, but that's no guarantee. We got to keep pushing forward, and if the borders do close, like, the need is going to be even huger to have a strong network of horse rescues across the United States to help these horses. But I know the frustration that you're feeling to try to, you know, help these horses. I know it was 2008. We started holding free humane euthanasia clinics because I was going to the auctions, and especially in the fall, like, there were so many old horses at the auction.
Just knowing that that I'm ending his life today, and that he's not going to be there, it's hard.
Owners of old, sick, and injured horses are having to make some very tough decisions in these tough economic times. You know, if you've ever had a dog or a cat that you had to put down, you know the feeling of driving your pet to the vet's office for the last time.
Today was that day for many local horse owners who drove home with empty trailers. Mark Hedlund joins us with more on why a horse euthanasia clinic has been so busy today.
Well, it certainly is in many ways a sign of our sorry economic times. And horses, of course, are so expensive, while those who own them certainly have a special passion. What happened today in Oroville may have never been done before. A free equine euthanasia clinic funded by donations through a horse rescue group, giving horse owners peace of mind and saving those horses from abandonment or a brutal death in a foreign slaughterhouse.
If I go inside myself, it's gut-wrenching.
For Margot Zamora, a walk she dreads, but a walk she's joined in by others, bringing their old and sick horses for euthanasia. Zamora's horse Oreo is 40 years old, nearly toothless, and she can no longer afford to care for him, plus her 5 other horses and horses she boards where people aren't paying.
We had like 4 or 5 that were really, really behind. And it was getting really hard for my husband and I, because we count on that to help pay for the mortgage.
To euthanize a horse normally costs about $500. The idea of a free euthanasia clinic never would have happened before.
But you know, the way the economy is going, there's so many people that can't afford to, you know, their horses are getting older, they can't afford to euthanize.
But too many owners struggling, winter feed costs skyrocketing, and groups like NorCal Equine Rescue simply can't find enough good homes.
When I called Tawnee and she told me that they had the free euthanasia clinic, it was kind of the answer to my prayers.
The alternative for these horses isn't pretty. Instead of being euthanized, most of them would go to auction, where killer buyers would take them and send them out of country for slaughter.
The slaughter itself, especially in Mexico, is extremely brutal, very cruel. There's no laws. The horse is alive through the entire process until it actually bleeds out.
And so Zamora takes a few moments for a tearful last goodbye. In fact, sad goodbyes for everyone here. So tough, but for these folks, no choice.
It's bittersweet for me because I do believe that there's an afterlife for all animals as well as humans.
Now, all these horses are being screened before they're being put down. If they're young and healthy, NorCal Equine Rescue will try to find the horse a home. But this is how tough it is. Since 2003, this group has rescued about 175 horses each year. So far, in 2008, that number has already doubled. Today's euthanasia clinic, 15 horses, is the very first one. It will not be the last. The group plans more clinics throughout the winter. They know that the need is still going to be there.
Oh, it's just heart-wrenching to watch those owners give up their animals, but you know, the options are awful.
But if someone sees this story and says, you know, we can take one more horse, they could contact NorCal Equine Rescue and maybe
certainly that is what NorCal Equine Rescue is all about. They're an adoption service. They take in horses and try to find them good homes if at all possible. But they know in many ways, especially in these times, horses are so expensive to take care of.
Yeah.
You get a horse that's 30 or 40 years old and has health problems, it's very, very difficult to find someone who's willing to take that on.
Yeah, no, we understand tough decisions.
All
It's
right.
very sad.
Thank you, Mark.
It's exciting to hear that you're working on new programs to help with that.
We'll see how it goes.
Right.
And there are going to be people, you know, that insist my horse does not need to be put down and the horse will come here. You know, that's not going to change.
Right. But we just think there has to be
I
some
want to
people,
give them another option.
there has to be some people out there that are, like you said, just don't know what to do.
Mhm.
And so they just bring it here. Well, let's euthanize this horse to where it's happy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, if it's
possible.
not adoptable, there's no reason for it to go to a rescue organization. You know, let that horse be in its safe place, its happy place. Yeah, so that's really neat that you're doing that. Was there anything that you all took away from the mentoring and everything back in the beginning that has really helped your organization today? Just a couple key points from that.
I think a lot of things.
Yeah.
So,
Boy,
learning the power of social media and fundraising, I think, has been
that's
Been
been
huge.
huge, financially.
Right.
Yeah. But as far as, I don't know.
You put it into practice and you don't remember what it was. You just do it.
You're just doing it.
Like, how were we doing it before? I don't even remember.
Yeah.
well, being willing to let other people make decisions.
Yeah, that's still a tough one.
Well,
It's
but
still-
you know, we have a barn manager that decides, you know, what needs to be done as far as the care of the horses and has a say in, you know, what the future holds for them. You know?
Probably, yeah, I guess kind of what he's touched on is like delegating. Because right now, I mean, like we were talking with the volunteers and staff and everything, and I try to think, you know, maybe they'll only be here for 2-3 hours. It's not like an 8-hour day for everybody worth of work here. But if you add all the time they spend here doing all that stuff, plus what I'm doing all day long, like I couldn't even come close to getting it all done.
Or done well.
Or done well, and I'd burn out in no time, kind of, you know, back where I was 5 years ago.
Right.
So yeah, we couldn't take in 224 horses if I was the only one here to do it all.
Yeah, delegating is a huge thing, and helping, you know, working with other folks and other organizations and all together, we can do such huge things. But I want to thank you all for just being such an amazing organization. And, you know, it gave us faith in our program, our mentoring program, and like this could work.
And if my math is right, you guys, this is your 10th year anniversary year, right? So I think Nate said you
It
said
is.
14.
Mhm. So do you have any plans for your anniversary for your organization?
Oh, open house or anything?
But there's like so many things I want to do, and right now it's winter and I don't want to do anything. So yeah, we have some ideas. It's not actually August, will actually be like the official 10 years. So
Okay.
I've got a little time to.
Yeah.
Well, and our annual trail ride is beginning September. Maybe that'd be sometime around that time would be a good time for
Maybe.
an open house or something
Maybe.
special.
Yeah,
Brings
well-
that brings a lot of people out here.
Well, 10 years is a really good
Yeah,
start.
that is
Like-
that is awesome. And so if you're following Ponytails, if you're not following them, follow them on social media, subscribe to their YouTube channel. They have awesome episodes. I know a lot of people like they watch ours, they watch yours. They can't get enough of horse rescue. And keep an eye out for their 10th anniversary. Like that is a huge thing. If you're in the area, stop by and support them. They do fantastic work. So,
And if you're not in the area, support them anyway.
absolutely. You guys you're always just amazing with what you're doing with your organization and just phenomenal work. So
Yeah.
Well, we
You
thank
guys-
you guys for all the help you gave us to get
Yeah.
where we're at now, because
Yeah.
we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, I still message her and like, hate to bother you, but
Right.
Well,
So,
you guys are some
we
of the
really
old
appreciate
timers now. You guys are some of the
we're the
old
OG.
now.
Isn't that what we're called?
And,
OG.
and we love mentoring with you guys.
Yeah.
Because you have another perspective from our perspective. And, you know,
Mhm.
Carrie has another perspective, and now KT and, you know, all these organizations, they're getting where we're going to be able to mentor up and coming rescues on best practices. I think that's just
Mhm.
absolutely amazing.
yeah,
Mhm.
no, it was so awesome having you all here this summer, because like there was so much mentoring that you all were able to do. And you know, a lot of young organizations that are coming up, or organizations have been around a while, and they're like, we don't know what we're doing. To be able to, you know, gather knowledge from everyone is so huge. And it's
Yeah, it is.
something that's not happened before in the horse rescue world. So you all are absolutely amazing early pioneers of this program. So couldn't be prouder of the work that you're doing. It's just phenomenal. So
Well, thank
you.
yeah, well, thank you so much for speaking with us today. And again, follow Pony's Tales social media pages, subscribe to their YouTube channel. They have awesome episodes they release on there, and follow the work they do. It's truly amazing. So thank you so much for speaking with us today.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.